Hey, Larken Rose here. Pardon my appearance, but I'm doing some work in Pennsylvania, and whenever I'm in cold weather, I grow a grizzly bear pelt and turn into a caveman. In other news, in about a month, Amanda and I will be down at Anarchapulco 2023. Haven't been there in a couple years, partly because of ridiculous travel restrictions and all that. But we will be back there, and in addition to having a main stage talk that I'm going to do, we are doing a seminar called Making Anarchy Mainstream. And I wanted to say a couple things about what that's about, for those who might want to attend, for those who are going to be down there. Anyway, it's, well, the title kind of says it. Doesn't quite say it all, but it says some of it. I think a lot of voluntarists expect to be a fringe minority for the rest of their lifetime and expect their belief system to always be a fringe minority. I think they look at the world and think, well, statism, it's been around for a zillion years. People have been doing stupid authoritarian garbage for centuries and centuries, and we're never going to change it. Like, we'll say what we think and we'll speak out, but nothing's really going to change and we're doomed. We're not doomed. As a matter of fact, statism is absolutely doomed. Now, it isn't doomed tomorrow. It's not even doomed in my lifetime, although I think that unless I get Clintoned or something, and no, I'm not at all suicidal in case that becomes relevant in the near future. As long as I don't kick the bucket for some unknown reason in the near future, I think I and most of you are going to live to see the day that there are large areas of stateless human society. Not the whole planet. It's going to take a long time before that happens. But I don't think it's a gazillion miles away. Now, that has changed drastically, because if 20 years ago, when I was already an anarchist, somebody had told me, oh yeah, you'll be going to events with hundreds or even thousands of people who believe in individual sovereignty and self-ownership and all that, in your lifetime, I'd say, no, I won't. Like, I'm going to say what I think, and I'm going to babble and nobody's going to pay any attention, and I'll die having made no difference whatsoever and not having seen any real significant increase. I would have absolutely thought that 20 years ago. Well, now I've seen with my own eyes groups popping up all over the world, whether it's events or organizations or just informal groups or lists or Facebook pages or a million other things, where there are, in fact, thousands and thousands of voluntarists who dare to talk about it in public. I didn't think that was going to happen in my lifetime. Well, that obviously happened in my lifetime. I'm not dead yet. And I think it's going to keep growing, including exponentially, and at some point, so many people are going to, even though it's a tiny minority, so many people are going to be talking about it that everyone in the world is going to be exposed to the ideas. And that's when the cascade really happens. The cascade effect of a new idea sort of catching fire in people's minds. Because most people have never heard of it. They've never heard of the possibility of something other than picking somewhere along the authoritarian line of the spectrum of left and right, as if there's any fundamental difference between the two. That's all they've ever heard of as the possibilities. And so, are you a left-wing or right-wing or left-wing extremist or right-wing extremist or a moderate? You choose which boot you like to lick. If you're a moderate, you can lick both boots a little bit. That's all they've ever known. That's all they've heard about. That's all they hear about on TV. That's all they hear about in most of society. They don't know that there's this thing called not having a ruling class. Well, the good news is they're going to know that. They're going to hear that discussion in the near future. And once that discussion is being had, that's when the cascade effect happens and statism starts to crumble, because there is no rational or moral argument in favor of statism. There just isn't one. That's why they have to use propaganda and fear-mongering and indoctrination, because you can't use reason to convince someone that they should be somebody else's blindly loyal subject and that somebody else should violently dominate them. There's never a rational or moral justification for such a loony belief system, which is why they rely so much on indoctrination. So Anyway, the seminar is going to cover a number of things related to how we as voluntarists relate to the rest of the world. Because if you expect everyone to be statist and not at all open to hearing ideas, not at all open to even having the discussion, it's going to have a huge effect on what you do and what you say, or whether you say anything, or whether you do anything. And so your expectation, like I don't believe in the whole, you manifest your own reality. If you believe in it, it magically appears. But the extent to which that is true is if your expectation alters what you're going to be willing to even try or how you go about it, then yeah, your expectation can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Nobody's going to listen to me ever. You're all stupid. Here, let me prove it to you. Hey, statist, you're really stupid. Everything you believe is bogus. See, they didn't listen to me. What a shock. Can't imagine why not. But if you expect the ideas that you have in your head to be mainstream, whether it's, very soon or next generation or whatever, you talk and behave differently, and then you are way more likely to do things that actually contribute to it becoming mainstream, which it will. To me, it's not a matter of, I really want us to make it so statism dies. Statism is absolutely going to die. I just want it to die as fast as possible to minimize how much damage it does to humanity in the meantime. And so I think there's a lot of things, and this ties in some with the Candles in the Dark seminar that Amanda and I did, which is mostly about just one-on-one conversations. But there's a lot of other things about it, and it ties in with your own psychology and the way your expectations and attitude affect how you come across to other people. And what you're thinking and what you're intending when you talk to other people or don't talk to other people, very rarely is that going to result in them actually knowing the first time around what the hell you're talking about. Like the first time you try to explain it, they're going to hear it as, oh, you want every man for himself, a caveman existence and just violent chaos? No, but if you don't understand how they see things and how they hear things in your communications, whether you're talking one-on-one or making a post publicly or anything like that, you're mostly going to do the self-fulfilling prophecy routine of only being as successful or as unsuccessful as you expect to be because of the response you expect to get from other people. And I can tell you firsthand, the difference is just amazing when you, first of all, when you train yourself to communicate in ways that are actually useful, but also when you don't have to talk defensively or angrily or with condemnation and accusation, whether or not those things are justified. Because in a lot of cases, they're totally justified. Like individuals are advocating the authoritarian domination of mankind. That's not okay. But going up to them and saying, you're evil and you're advocating evil, isn't going to do any good. It may totally be true. It may totally be justified for you to say that. It's not really going to help. So if your goal is to actually help end the cult of statism and the insane superstition of authority, then that's what the seminar is going to be all about. Now, I intend to post that after the seminar's done. I intend to post it for Rose channel subscribers too. I don't know how many weeks or months in between it'll take to get the footage and put it together and stuff. But if you want to be there live for it, it's probably going to be a 3-hour seminar with some breaks in there so you don't die halfway through. Down at Anarchapulco this February. And so many people, and I totally sympathize and I understand, and if the world was rational and fair, this wouldn't be a problem. So many people think, well, I can explain the concepts perfectly clearly and people don't listen, therefore people aren't ready for it or they're not smart enough, or no, you missed about 14 steps in between. You can explain it and they can't hear it. Because the fact that you can explain it clearly when it's something that goes against their assumptions and their lifelong indoctrination, you explaining it clearly and logically by itself has about a 0% chance of success. if you don't understand both their psychology and yours. Again, this is whether it's in a one-on-one setting, or you're just publicly posting things, or you're writing a book, or you're making a movie, or you're doing an interview, or whatever you're doing. So I wanted to cover some of that because I feel your pain. I know the frustration of trying to explain something that once you learn it, it seems really dang obvious, and it seems like you should be able to go out and like, we can't delegate rights we don't have, therefore government doesn't have any rights we don't, we're all just equals. What? And then you're frustrated and you think, how did they not understand that? That was so simple. Well, it being simple in your mind, now that you understand it, doesn't mean they're ready to hear it if you don't know how to approach it and you don't know how to introduce them to it, usually not by way of lecturing in one direction or screaming at them, but by asking them things and knowing how to get them to actually wonder for themselves and in a way find it for themselves. Because surprise, surprise, you do not and should not have the power to force your ideas on other human beings. Don't know why I feel the need to tell anarchists that, but you can't. It would be kind of handy and yet evil and insane if we could just go, there, now they all understand. But you can't. So you have to know their psychology. You have to know your own psychology, how they interact, all the things that get in the way of people questioning their assumptions in order to actually make a significant portion of humanity, and then basically all of humanity, look at it honestly long enough to get rid of the superstition entirely, which is absolutely going to happen. But I'd rather it happen sooner rather than later. So if you're willing to doubt your prior methods long enough to find out if there's a way you can be more effective, not more right, not more correct, you'll be just as right and correct as you were the 15 times that you tried it and nobody paid any attention to you, but more effective at explaining and getting across what you already know. If you want to get better at that, I highly suggest the Making Anarchy Mainstream seminar that we'll be doing down at Anarchapulco. For those of you able to make it, yeehaw.